coming out of that tunnel. A little Debo out there in front with the boom box.
I'm looking for juice at pass rusher is really what it comes down to.
Fred, I was working on my tan.
Welcome back, Commanders family. Another exciting show in store for you. We are looking at Cliff Kingsbury's offense and all of these new weapons he has at his disposal. Then we hear from the captain. That's right, we catch up with the future Hall of Famer, London Fletcher. And then last but not least, free agency is now official. The draft is on the way. We give you updates on all of that and look at some very interesting prospects with Logan Paulson. All that and more starts right now. Welcome in, Commanders family, to Commands, and I'm Brian Cooper Jr. here with Santana Moss, Fred Smoot, and Logan Paulson. Now, fellas, last week was a little different. We heard some names coming in. However, it was all speculation.
Unofficial.
It was unofficial, but now it's official tissue. We got the people in the building. They've talked. We've heard from them. How are y'all feeling right now, the way that this team is shaping up? Logan, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's extremely exciting because you get to kind of see the team starting to come together for real, right? It's always been like, oh, if this guy signs, if the trade goes through, all this stuff, and now it's happening for real. And I think the one thing that gets me really excited is it seems like good stuff. You know what I'm saying? Good depth pieces, good role players, also good starters, some high-end talent. So seeing it all kind of mix up in that pot has been really cool, and to get it to solidify right before the draft is awesome.
Wait for you to play it so low right there. I am happy. It's been, a decade since we had a left tackle in here that can rival what Trent Williams brought to the table. We went out and got that's a blockbuster trade that nobody's really talking about. And when you go get a guy like Debo Samuel, a switch arm and knife, I'm talking about an X, a Z, a slot. This dude can play third down running back if I need him to. Now, I think the whole thing, especially with Ken Law and the rest of those guys, the roster's starting to take form right now. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. And I thought it was great, especially it gives us the ability to go into the draft and not have to draft any position. It just say, get the best player available. And I think we did that.
You know, Fred said it best. I was just, we was together the other night. You know?
Wow.
No, I mean,
that's tough, dude.
I mean,
they're right.
about to make me lose my train of thought. No, check it. No, seriously. We were sitting there talking to fans the other night at the event we was at, and the first thing they mentioned is about how many key pieces we picked up already. You know, for so many years we've been hearing you got to go in the draft to get guys to better your team. But now it's out there in free agency. Now it's out there through trade. So it was great to see us be on the other side of going out there picking up some of this talent that you see so many other teams take advantage of. And now we have it. And now, like you just said, you can go on this draft and say, best guy available. You know, we don't have to necessarily go out there and get somebody that's going to, solidify what we already have.
And the good thing about it is we wasn't going to find no Debo Samuels in the third, fourth round. We wasn't going to find no Laramie Tunsil with the third, fourth, fifth pick. So I just feel like we really, really got over when it came to those trades.
And fellas, when you look at this offensive side of the ball, because we're going to talk about defense in a little bit, but you look at those pieces you add that left tackle, you add a stud receiver. You do that when you got a dog at quarterback. So Jaden Daniels is at March Madness enjoying this time, having a good time. And this offense is building up around him. Let's take a look at some of our top 5 performers. It's time for Top 5, presented by UA Local 5 Plumbers, protecting the health of the nation's capital since 1890. Now, fellas, you look at these 5 guys right here. No doubt they were our top performers. We know what Jaden Daniels did, man. Record on record on record. Ryan Robson Jr. had a career year. Austin Eckler looked like his old self. Terry McLaurin, once again, another 1,000-yard season. And then, of course, Zach Ertz looked like the man of all. My man looked good out here. What a great way this offense came together. And fellas, I gotta imagine with these new pieces, our offense is gonna be looking even more potent. So let's start with that first one right here. Debo coming, like you said, right? Debo Samuel's in the building. We got to hear from him when he talked about wanting to be here. When he heard about what the Commanders wanted him and that he got to see what they were doing here, it made him excited. How excited are y'all to have a weapon like that in a Cliff Kingsbury offense?
Well, it's going to, serve us well. I think when you have a guy that we've been talking about ad nauseum last year about bringing in that number 2 guy. And, one of the things I said as being a receiver, when you have a key player in your backfield as a Jaden Daniels as a quarterback, you don't necessarily need a number 2 or number 3. You just need one of those guys to be efficient enough. And Terry was that. You brought in now Debo, so he can be anywhere 1A, 1B. Then you brought in other guys. You know what I mean? Like this thing is now shaping out to really be one of those key offenses where you say, from our running back position to our receiver position, we have like top 10 caliber guys. You know what I mean? So I'm happy about it because you just don't know what Debo is going to bring. He's already talked about just having that little chip, and I'm ready to see it, man, because a guy like that, man, once he gets in that football mode and go out there and hit that field, hit the ground running, you don't know what's coming.
And like Tanner said, top caliber guys. So you look at that, you talk about Laramie Tunsil, possibly the best at his position. Logan and Fred, when y'all see a guy like this come in, what does it mean about where the outlook of this team is and how ready they are to win now?
Let me paint this picture for y'all. Let me paint this picture for y'all. Northwest Field. It's around, 12:59-ish. Just imagine coming out of that tunnel. A little Debo out there in front with the boom box. Laramie Tunsil right behind him. We done seen this picture before. All right? Identity guys. These are identity guys. These are the guys that switched how you even view the team. So I want to see these guys together. I can't wait for off-season training. I want to see how they get in the mode of playing off each other. And like you said, when you bring in a guy like Debo, what can't I do? I can do anything you need me to do. So when I think of these guys, I think about identity, trench warfare with Laramie Tunsil. Like when I think about Debo, everybody want to talk about splash plays. I love Debo as a blocker. Like with the intensity that he brings to the football field when it comes to blocking for his running backs and his other receivers, that's what changes the game.
And you talk about blocking. Logan, we've also added some depth within our offensive line, and we know how important that is. Remember Trent Scott, Chris Paul, Lucas. How do these guys come in and help what we're already doing here?
Yeah, I think the thing that's so important now is understanding kind of how the practice squad works. You know, it used to be, we can only have 6 guys, 7 guys on practice squad. Now you can have close to 15 guys on practice squad. So you get guys who have talented game experience in the building as developmental pieces. And I think that's super important. I remember last year there were multiple games where it's like, man, we're looking a little thin on the offensive line, Montana. And now we've got guys that have played, they've backed up, they've been in this role, and I think they have upside potential as well. So I think getting that kind of solidified, it might not seem, it's not a Laramie Tunsil signing, right? But if you want a good football team, when the starters get nicked up, when you need pieces to come in, having guys that could potentially fill that role for you is huge.
And Tanner, one of the guys I'm really excited about, kind of a surprise, was us signing Michael Gallup. Gallup has not played since 2023, put up over 100 yards in the playoffs when he did play. He said he wants to be here and play. He wants to come back. He retired last year. What do you expect to get from Michael Gallup, especially in an offense like this where everybody gets the rock?
Well, just knowing that he's familiar with the coaches. You know, he's familiar with those guys over there that he once was on the team with, and Dan Quinn and those guys. And when you have a guy that said, man, I just didn't have the love because where I was at last year, you can understand why he wanted to step away. But coming back now, knowing what he has as a quarterback, knowing what he has as an offensive coordinator, knowing who he has as his, I guess you could say, motivator as a head coach, he's going to be eager to go out there and shine. And if he looks anywhere near who he was when he played for Cowboys those years, before that injury and a little bit after that injury, man, we got a good weapon.
Tanner, he might be fresher. You know how it is when a guy take a year off, your whole body, your mind, your soul get the rest, he might even be fresher.
And to me, it's just like a low-risk, high-reward investment, right? Like, he's a 1,000-yard receiver in the NFL. He's very, very talented, obviously, but you're bringing him on a one-year deal. Prove it. Figure it out, man. If it hits, great. You got a true number 2. That's fantastic. Another complementary piece to like Debo and Terry. But no risk, very low risk, high reward.
And you're getting a motivated guy that has found a way to love the game. He's missed the game so much. I actually got to catch up with Michael Gallup on the Next Man Up podcast. We sat down and talked about why the Commanders were the perfect team for him to rejuvenate his career. Let's take a listen.
So what goes into the decision to say, all right, my retirement's done. I feel like myself now. I want to come back out and do this?
For me, it was actually talking to my oldest sister. I'm the youngest of 8 kids.
Wow.
And my oldest sister, that's my best friend. So if I ever needed anything, that's the first person I go to. So, I went back home to Georgia for a couple months, and I chopped it up with her. And, it got to that point where it's just like, I still love ball. I know I still love ball. Just go back out there and do it because you want to. There's no point in just sitting here wasting talent right now. And that's what she told me. She knows I still have it. That's what, it just gave me that fire again. But also, watching all those games with my little boys and everything, they're just saying, Daddy, why you not up there? Well, hold on, just chill out.
Give it time.
Just chill out. But I know it's for them too. They need to witness as well. So that was my big thing. I just needed a little mental reset, needed to talk it out, and get back right.
Great to hear from Michael Gallup. Can't wait to see him back on that NFL field. Now, it's time for your winning numbers presented by the Maryland Lottery. Please play responsibly. Now, these winning numbers are our season averages for the Commanders' defense. You see those rushing yards allowed, passing yards allowed, total yards allowed, and, of course, points per game allowed just at 23. And fellas, looking at those numbers, I gotta imagine those are gonna change because of all the changes we have done, the things we have added to this team. So first things first, let's start secondary. Fred, Will Harris, Jonathan Jones, guys with playoff experience. And Jonathan Jones coming with two Super Bowls, man. They add to what we've already done to this top 5 passing defense in the NFL.
Well, first of all, they get another year in Coach Witt's defense. So their continuity right there going to give them a chance to play faster. We got bigger in the trenches. We understand the challenge we got in Philadelphia. Now, on the back end, go and get a guy like Jonathan Jones. He can, versatility-wise, he can do pretty much everything. He can cover in zone, because the one thing about New England, they play multiple coverages. Not some, they play multiple. So he's a guy. Him and Mike Sam still become, they can do anything. If one goes outside, the other one goes inside. And when you bring a guy that's already played with Lattimore, put him back there at safety, that means there's one less person he has to learn how to play with. So it's some continuity things back there too that I think gonna give him a chance to play good on the back end. Because the truth of the matter is, until we are running the trenches, we're just holding on in the back end. Trench warfare decides what goes on in the back end.
Yeah, but I do think adding some depth pieces there is going to be really important, you know. And I think Harris's addition is going to be really nice because his ability to play in the box, be a little bit better in certain coverage situations than Jeremy was last year. I think it's going to be a huge deal in terms of adding some flexibility to the defensive backfield.
Do you think Harris can play some nickel? Because I've seen him play nickel at the Saints also.
And I think that's what they did last year with Jeremy Chin, right? There's sometimes where Jeremy's the big nickel, sometimes he's the safety, sometimes he's an actual linebacker. And I think Harris brings a different body type, a similar skill set.
And that's a great point, Fred, because you look at the guys that we've added in across the board. Versatility is key. We saw that a lot last year. As a defensive back, Fred, how important is it to have that versatility, bring guys in that can play multiple roles?
It's sort of like having Debo on offense. When we all got versatility on the back end, you don't know where Fred is going to be, or Sean is going to be, or whoever that's back there. And it allows us to hide our coverages that much more uniquely, because they like, where's Will at? Where's Sanders still at? He was at nickel last time, but now he's not. So these are the things that can stall the offense and keep them 1 second behind you.
And so, Tanner, you might remember this. I remember doing stuff with like the Green Bay Packers back in like 2012, 2013. They played a ton of nickel, but also a ton of dime. And so targeting runs became impossible. Targeting protections became impossible. And we had to waste a ton of meeting time trying to figure out who was who in certain packages. And so just that extra little bit of communication for an offense is extremely challenging. Puts more on the center, puts more on the quarterback. So again, the flexibility makes them really dangerous.
And Fred, you mentioned trench warfare. Well, we added to that as well, headlined by Javon Kinlaw. When you look at the guys that we were able to bring into our defensive line, how optimistic are you on what we're able to do compared to last year?
I love it. All these guys are a cheesesteak away from 330. And that's what we like right now. That's what we want. We realize we need size. We realize that. We need size. If we're going to go against Philadelphia, the bullies up the block, we're going to have to fight size and power with power. And you talking about versatility, this is a guy that can play from the nose. He can play the 3 technique, the 5. He can play wherever you need him to play it. I see it itching coming out your mouth. What you got?
Well, I was going to say, I think with Kinlaw, you want him playing farther away from the football. I think 3, 4 eye, something out there. But it does, to your point, it gives you some front flexibility as well. So you don't have to play that straight even front. You can play an odd front. Goldman, I think, gives you a lot of flexibility because he can play a straight nose. And again, talk about targeting fronts, targeting runs, becomes way more challenging. Are they in an odd front? Are they in an under? Are they in an over front? Like all those things, because the personnel now becomes much more flexible.
And the size of a guy like Wise. You bring him in, he's a big defensive end. He's even bigger than the regular defensive end we've been playing with.
And Logan, Fred mentioned Wise, and you look at our edge rushers. I think that's a place where fans are looking at and saying, okay, are they done? Have they made all the moves they're going to make? How do you feel about that? And do you still feel we need to add some more depth to that area?
Yeah, I mean, I think with edge specifically, it's a position you always want to add depth to. I think Wise and some of these other pieces, Holmes coming back, Farrell coming back, Baptiste, I think they show us, Baptiste, that's a great point. They show a floor, right? They show a really nice floor, guys that can play well on first and second down with maybe some limited pass rush upside. They all have tools. But I think if I'm looking for something in the draft or in the kind of second or third wave of free agency post-draft, like Stan was talking about when he asked Fletch about that veterans, I'm looking for juice at pass rusher is really what it comes down to.
And Tanner, when you look at where we're at right now, all the things we've done, not just on the offensive side, but the defensive side of the ball as well, do you feel that there's still more work to be done as far as free agency is concerned? Do you feel like you want to add some more bodies, or are you focused on the draft right now?
You know, I'm always open. You feel me? Like whenever it comes available, I'm open for it, especially if he can, you know, change some of the things that we're doing or help us be better. And I think that's one of the reasons why I asked under that question, because I want to know, do he feel like there's a guy that or two out there that we can say, man, possibly if you ain't going to use them, we can use them. You know what I mean? But I think right now when you look at what we do, we did so well in this first period when you have the free agents that's available, or you have these guys that we, you know, trading for Debo Samuels. The draft now is going to probably put the stamp on do we have, or did we solidify what we were trying to do this offseason? You know, if not, like you say, there's going to be a guy too that might be a casualty, you know, a camp casualty or a cap casualty that might come available. And if that guy too comes available, then I'm pretty sure Adam's going to do what he has to do.
A lot to be excited about what this defense is doing, especially seeing what Joey Jr. was able to do in year one. And Logan, you must be able to see into the future because you mentioned London Fletcher. Well, you know what? We are going to hear from our guy, the captain, right now. It's time for Best Seat in the House, presented by SeatGeek. The most disruptive idea in ticketing, a ticket that works. Expect the expected. SeatGeek. And since we're talking defense, we gotta welcome in the captain, London Fletcher. We haven't heard from you in a few weeks, brother. We just saw the defensive acquisitions that we added through free agency. Who are you most excited about?
Well, I'm excited about two of the guys. I'm excited about Javon Kinlaw. I think he's going to be an upgrade. And I should say this. He's what we needed from the defensive tackle position. Need a bigger body guy. One of the things that we really struggled with was stopping the run. We were 30th in the National Football stopping the run. You know what kind of problems we had going against the Eagles in that in all the games. We played them all 3 games last season. So I'm excited about him. And also Jonathan Jones. He's a very underrated guy, very underrated signing. I'm sure Fred is probably really pumped about that signing. When you look at the New England Patriots, one of the things that they excelled at, their defense was always top flight. And they were particularly extremely good when it came to man-to-man coverage. Jonathan Jones, I should say, is going to be a key addition to that defense. He can play the slot, he can play outside. You got him and Sam Steele both can do those things, whether they want to who they choose to put inside and who's going to play outside. That remains to be seen. But I think those 2 additions to this defense will really help us play that type of winning football we need to play.
So, Fletch, obviously you're talking defensive ball there, and that's great, but I really care about what I think is the bell of the ball in free agency, Laramie Tunsil. How do you feel about him, and what does his signing do for the Washington Commanders?
Well, you think you get 2 signings, two stars of Jeremy or the trade for Tunsil. Now you have him at the left tackle position, and you can move Brandon Coleman to another position along the offensive line, whether it's going to be at left guard or right tackle, wherever they decide they're going to move him to. So it's almost like adding 2 guys with that one signing. And you got an elite pass rusher, elite pass protector in the National Football League, and it's hard to throw the football if your quarterback's under duress. I think adding Laramie Tunsil allows Cliff Kingsbury and his offense to really be a lot more confident in some of the calls they make. They don't necessarily and shouldn't have to necessarily have as many 7-man protection. That'll allow you to get more guys out in the pass concepts and things like that. So I think he's gonna really aid this offense and what they're able to do, really open up some things.
I thought it was London. I thought it was unbelievable what Adam Peters has been able to do in this short time in this offseason, getting a stalwart left tackle, one of the best in the league, getting Debo Samuels, a Swiss Army knife, getting Wise, getting Kinlaw, getting these guys. To me, what it looked like he's setting up, he wants to go into this draft and just get best player available. And I think he did. Do you feel like he did the things required this offseason already for that to happen?
Yeah, I really do. And as I was thinking about, hey, we were drafting 29th?
29th, yep.
29th. So at that position, you're not forced to, hey, I need to go up to try to get a left tackle, get an offensive tackle. I don't need to, give up some assets. We're in a situation now, best position, best player available, whether you still want to add a defensive end, maybe a pass rusher, you want to add another offensive lineman, another defensive lineman, another corner, whatever the case may be. You really, if you want to trade back, I think that and add more picks, that allows Adam Peters to do a lot of different things, and it's going to be fun to watch kind of how they navigate this draft, because when we're on the clock, you just never know what we're going to do, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with this draft.
Yeah, London. Fred kind of took my question, so
it don't surprise me, Tanner. He probably read your question.
Hey, I'm gonna move on the fly. So I'm gonna ask you this: looking at some of the guys we picked up, whether it's free agency or trade, now you're talking about move fast forward to the draft. Are there any other veteran guys that's on teams that you think might have a possibility, that might not make the squad because who their team picked up that you would love to see over here with us?
That's tough. I hadn't thought about that, Tanner. in terms of, I'm sure their scouting staff is always watching and monitoring situations. I think you can never have too many offensive linemen. If you look at kind of when we had our, I think it was a 3-game losing streak during the season, it was because the offensive line was really banged up and really was challenged from a depth standpoint. If you can continue to add and bolster that offensive line, because there may still be some cap casualties and things of that nature. And so adding to the offensive line, adding to the defensive line, it wouldn't surprise me if we went out and still look to maybe add another defensive tackle, because I look at the Philadelphia Eagles. In order to have home playoff games, we got to overcome the Philadelphia Eagles. Where are they strongest at? In their offensive line. We got to get stronger in our defensive line to kind of counteract what they're able to do with Saquon Barkley in that run game. So, those are things and areas and positions that I wouldn't be surprised if there's a high-quality veteran out there that becomes available. It wouldn't surprise me if they continue to add to those positions.
Always great rapping with the great London Fletcher, future Hall of Famer London Fletcher. Thank you for coming and kicking it with us, even though we know you was just on the beat somewhere.
Yeah,
with the shirt off.
I can see the tan lines all around his eyes.
Bragging to the chat.
Fred, I was working on my tan.
You definitely look darker. Shout out to London Fletcher for pulling up on us, man. Brother, we can't wait to see you, and we can't wait to hear more draft coverage from you as we get closer to the NFL draft. Commanders family, our guy, the captain, Big Fletch. Always great hearing from Big Fletch. We're also excited to see what AP does with this draft season. He killed it last year. We're expecting more this year. Now, every Monday, senior writer Zach Selby is reacting to different mock drafts. This week is from Rob Rang. He had us taking a safety, Malachi Starks, out of Georgia at 29th. Very exciting stuff right there. Make sure you check that out over at commanders.com. And another guy who is geeked up for the draft is our prospect professor, Logan Paulson. Lo, take it away.
Thanks, Brian. It's time for Draft Insights, powered by Microsoft Copilot. All right, let's talk about this Copilot and what it can do from an analysis standpoint. So what I'm going to do is, I know defensive linemen are based on jump metrics and 10-yard sprint metrics, right? So who did a good job jumping at the combine? Let's go check it out. So I'm going to go over, click on the Microsoft Copilot. I'm going to type my prompt. Top 3 vertical and broad jumps at the combine. Now, this is extremely important. All these linear metrics are great to kind of determine get off, lower body strength. It's incredibly important. This is a great way for me to kind of cut down my list of players that I'm looking at while the Copilot's thinking who's going to pop up here. Let's check it out. We got Shamar Stewart, Landon Jackson, Prince Muminyela, and I look at both columns. I say Landon Jackson with a 40.5-inch vertical and Landon Jackson with a 10.9 broad jump. That's big time. Now let's go watch some film of him at the combine. All right, so just talking about Landon Jackson with the tablet here, and one of the things about football, right? Obviously, the dude's crazy explosive, ran a fast 40, jump really high, but football is about more than just jumping and being fast, right? So I look at these drills that we get at the combine. It's a great way to test other forms of athleticism, right? So here we got the hoop drill, going to kind of do a figure 8 here around these cones. Yep. And one of the things about him, I love him. He's one of my favorite players to watch. Dana, little stiff coming around here, but I think what you're seeing is
to be expected, though.
Yeah, I say with a guy like that, 6'4", like that, you want to see can he play with lean. Yeah. You want to see can he turn that corner.
He's 6'6", man. He's a big old
house right there. Yeah. So when you got these guys that tall, you want to see how low can they play to the ground, and you can only see it through these type drills.
Yeah, absolutely. And I look at this drill here, Tana, because it's one of those things kind of sports specific, right?
Yeah.
You see how he bends, you see how he moves, attacks the bag, the timing, the rhythm, and I love this little bend here.
Much better on the back drill.
Yeah, right? Look at how smooth he looks here, right? So it's multifactorial, right? It's timing of the pass rusher, it's working through some of this stuff. And
it's hands placement. Can I turn this corner right now? Yeah. And that's the key right there.
And dipping the pads, and you say, okay, well, how does that compare to other guys? Because I think he'd be a great fit for the Washington Commanders. He plays hard, plays violently, plays with that commander C on his chest.
Yeah, I say he's a commander.
There's a couple other guys, though. So Jack Sawyer is another guy, right? Didn't test at the combine.
I like his last name.
Yeah. Sawyer.
Jack Sawyer.
Yes.
But kind of attacks the drill a little different, right? A little smoother, right? On rhythm, on balance. And you love to see that kind of stuff. And again, to me, this is a great combine shows you because just how different athletes do different stuff.
They do the same thing different.
Yeah, it's not because Tana, like you said, with receivers running around, it's not the same thing for everybody, right? So this guy, for example, Nick Scordon, he's a big old hoss, man, but he plays hard. Commander C for me also here. But watch him attack. Look at how violent he is.
I can say violent hand movement.
A little slower, but a little bend, right? And the balance to finish, right?
Off, man?
Competitive, right? Would you say who pissed him off?
One of them back
That's
said
how you want your
something
guys to play.
No,
you want them to play angry.
And I think the film supports this, right? It supports this kind of style. It's heavy hands, big body, right? And again, different type of edge player, but it looks different than Jack Sawyer, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
A little bit bigger, right? And then we got our guy Oladejo here from UCLA, and Tana. This guy is a dog.
Talk to
he
me.
is a dog.
You're not just saying that because he a UCLA
Dude,
Bruin.
he plays like Frankie Louvu, man. He plays off-ball linebacker and rush the passer, and every play for him is a car crash, man. And the thing I'll say here is a little bit of stiffness, right? See a little bit of stiffness on the bags, right? Tighten the hips, but man, like, it's the film with him, right? It's the film. And so it's like, this is a piece of the evaluation, but I want to see more, man, because he, on film, man, Tana, it's Crash Bandicoot every play with this guy. So I love that guy, right? And you know, he's a Bruin, so I'm going to give him some love.
Yeah, I know you did.
But then, so Fred, I know, we saved the best for last, right? Who's this guy?
James Pierce Jr. And let me tell you something. His film matches what you see here. Quick. He one of the fastest D lineman edge rushers in this draft. He know how to turn that corner. And when he go turn that corner, he's going to get that quarterback with bad intentions. And that's what you want from an edge rusher.
And one of the things that sticks out to me here, Fred, is a word you say all the time, fluent. He's very fluent. Right? I like to say fluid. You like to say fluent. But look at the rhythm, the timing, how he moves his feet, man. And again, he ran a 4.48 at the combine. We talked about him last week. And he's got the juice, man. But the thing that I'd ask you, and this is where the film comes in, does he play like a commander all the time? Man, he's a good football player.
And you see that from time to time in college. Now, this is when Coach Quinn comes in and his motivation and what he makes these players do. I think he'll be perfect for this team.
This is something you talk about all the time, like getting to know the player in the interview, right? That's a huge part of this process, too. So if, hey, maybe I'm not playing hard all the time because the coach said X, Y, Z to me, that's where we feel comfortable about this. But yeah, I mean, these are some really good football players. Guys that look at 29, maybe not 29 for all of them, but a couple of those guys at 29 in terms of edge, talent, right? Different stylistically, and we got to figure out, or we don't have to. Adam Peters, Dan Quinn got to figure it out. But there's a lot of good edge players in this class that are really, really talented football players.
Always insightful getting to hear from Logan Paulson and the guys in the film room. Now, another guy we love to hear from is our head coach, Dan Quinn. He got to sit down with the guys this week on the Command Center podcast, and we're going to let you check it out. It's time for your can't miss moment, presented by FanDuel. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official partner of the Washington Commanders.
How do you marry every section of coaching? Because everybody like to talk about the sideline, the game time stuff. To me, this is administration time because it goes from free agency, it goes to the draft, it goes to almost the paper pushing part of it. How do you as a coach kind of flip the switch?
You're right, man.
Is it a family
I miss
thing?
the players not being here all the time. That's why I coach, you know. So like the part that when they're not here isn't as fun, but it is the time that you have to use to feature the guys in unique ways. You know, what do we know now about somebody we didn't know a year ago? How do we add a new player, you know, into the system? What does Debo look like into it? You know, what about Laramie and how does he fit in and the things that we would do differently with them into it? So it's not that there is an administrative part. There's a lot of planning. And I think what you also want to make sure that you do is really dig in on the draft part of things. Once somebody's in your bloodstream, like they're with you. And so you want to make sure you add in the right, you know, crew into it.
Build them up.
Yes, because if it's not, then you can make some mistakes to say, man, this is a good player, but he might not be the right fit for how we get down.
Always great hearing from our fearless leader, head coach Dan Quinn. Now, if you love that, we have content for you on the Commanders YouTube page all week long. I'm talking about on Mondays, we have the Ticket to the Draft. Fridays, we have the Get Loud podcast. They have a new home that is on Fridays. And then on Wednesdays, the Command Center podcast. And of course, our flagship show on Thursdays, Command Center. And stay tuned every single day because at any moment, we could drop an exclusive Next Man Up one-on-one interview right on the Commanders YouTube page, or you can stream audio wherever you get your podcasts. Time for Securing the W, presented by Hercules Fence. Security in every job. Now, fellas, before we end the show, I thought this was so cool looking at what Magic Johnson tweeted out. He was spending time with Jaden Daniels' mama and, of course, Jaden Daniels. And when I look at a photo like this, fellas, it makes me think about how valuable mentorship can be, especially for young guys. And all three of y'all have been young. Thank y'all for the bow, brother. All y'all have been young guys in this league before, so it made me think about who brought y'all under their wing. I mean, Jaden has Doug Williams. Jaden has a Magic Johnson. Even a Josh Harrison and Adam Peters, right? Logan. Who was somebody that brought you under your wing when you were a young man, whether that's on the field or off the field?
Yeah, I would say I was very fortunate to come to an older team, right? And so obviously there were guys that in my room like Chris Cooley that gave me a lot of great insight on how to be better football players. There's role models like Santana. Obviously London Fletcher was here. Fred, I didn't know anything about Fred. And that's probably good for me. Honestly.
Great for you, man.
Good for me. But those guys, but I'm saying, there were a lot of guys, coaches, my parents, right, that gave me mentorship throughout. No one as cool as Doug Williams, obviously, or Magic Johnson, but I had my own little collective of people that helped me out.
Well, he's right. When I first got here, this was the old folks' home of Ashburn. And I luckily had the ageless one, Darryl Green, who they kind of said, we need you to, look after Fred and take care of him.
Why is that? Why are they looking after you, buddy?
They just thought, I was young. But I had guys. I had Bruce Smith of the world. I had Stephen Davis. So I had guys. I had Champ Bailey, which Champ one number a little older than me, but he had already been in the league for 2 years. I got to learn from them all. So I don't think it's sometimes focused all on one person being looking out for you. It's more of a village. They say it take a village to raise kids, and I moved into a village called Ashburn.
Well, if you asked Sean Springs, he'd have said you raised it. So I don't know why you ain't bring him up. That's your OG, right? Yeah, man. What about you?
Well, in New York, I had a bunch of guys that I kind of just, I watched. You know what I mean? Anything that they said, I kind of soaked it up. Wayne Kerbeck, Mo Lewis, Curtis Martin, Marvin Jones. All those guys was like, an integral part into who I became when I got here. Then I get here, I got David Patton, God bless the dead, James Thrash. I got those guys in my room. And I remember, man, one day, they're my elders. I'm looking at these guys like I watched you guys when I was in middle and high school. And the coach asked us something in our meeting room. I received a meeting room, and I'm like waiting on them. And DP like, Tanner, you the guy. Answer him. I'm like, and that was the day that I realized that they was giving me the floor. So, when you have guys like that, you can just soak up what they're giving you by watching or listening. And I was fortunate just to have in both teams a lot of guys to look up to.
And fellas, it's dope for me to watch you guys because I've got to see y'all become and evolve into the OGs now. Now y'all are taking people under y'all wing. How cool is that being ex-players, being able to look out for guys? Fred, Mike Sanders reached out to you the minute he got drafted. That's respect to the OG, right? How cool is that to be able to play that role for these young guys?
It feels cool, but it also lets you know you're old. Immortality is staring you in the face. But I enjoyed that he reached out to me from the door trying to get a feel of what's going on. And you always got to respect the past to move on to the future. So it's one of those things, we can't wait to give this game for free. That's why we hold all the youth camps, Tanner does youth camp, and we just come and we want to talk to the kids because sometimes all they need to see is somebody that made it to make them believe that they can make it.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's a special thing to be able to kind of take the mentorship that Chris Cooley gave me and then pass it on to the next generation of tight end or next generation of players. So it's a special thing for sure.
Yeah, me and Kirk was just talking a couple of weeks ago. He came into town and bumped into him, and his wife was just talking about how Kirk is now doing what I did for Kirk, though. When it comes to treatments after practice, all the guys coming over to Kirk house there in his basement, how he was when I was here, and I learned that in New York. Curtis Martin told me you got to pay to play, Tanner, and as a pup. Pay to play, what you mean? He's like, bro, you have to find a team that can take care of your body so you can continue to get money with what you have, And so that's where I learned that, and I brought it here, and the rest was history. So it's great to be able to get that knowledge back.
Man, that knowledge is so valuable, and we appreciate y'all for everything y'all do for the Burgundy and Gold on and off the field. We appreciate y'all. Commanders fans, we appreciate y'all even more. That is it for Command Center, but make sure you turn it to the Commanders YouTube page so you can see all of the great content we drop every day of the week. For Logan Paulson, Fred Smoot, Santana Moss, I'm Brian Colbert Jr. We out this thing.